Hey everybody, it's Emily from Life Sew Savory, and today I'm going to be sewing a swimsuit for my daughter. So I am using the girls basic swimsuit pattern from my shop, and today I've included a discount code for you if that's something that you might be interested in. But I'm going to be turning a one-piece swimsuit into a two-piece, and this tutorial can be used with any basic swimsuit pattern that you might already have. So I'm going to go ahead and do a couple shares here and then we'll get started, and I have some fun things to show you, so we'll take a look at those. So I'm glad you're here. Say hi, let me know what you're up to, what is going on today. It is a beautiful sunny day here in the Denver area. But this weekend is predicted like a snow apocalypse for us, so I'm probably more mentally than anything preparing for that. We haven't had a ton of snow this winter, or it's just been patchy, so if we get a whole bunch, whew, might be kind of crazy. Anyway, so that is what we're up to. So at the very beginning I mentioned, and I'm not sure where it picks up for you guys when you start watching, but I am going to be sewing the girls basic swimsuit pattern and turning a one-piece pattern into a two-piece. And I did this last year for my daughter, and if you want to go ahead and look, what was I gonna say? I shared it. I shared last year, sorry, a two-piece version of my girls' basic swimsuit. Just a second. I can't type and talk. But it was made from this like athletic fabric that had like sequins on it, and so when I turned it under and hemmed the bottom, it was too itchy and Rose couldn't wear it, so she never wore it outside of the pictures. So we're going to today try again for a cute two-piece look, and it looked great, so that I know that it works. It's just a matter of getting it so that she can wear it. Anyway, so that is our plan today. I have a couple examples of other fun sewing hacks you can use with this pattern. So I love just having basic patterns that then I can go ahead and change up and make better. And this basic swimsuit is one of those great patterns that it is literally just the basics, but there are so many fun things that you can do with it. And in the post that's linked in the description of this video, you can see some of those really fun sewing hacks. I'm going to show you the two-piece one today, and then I have a couple of examples here as well that I'm going to show you. So just give me a second. I'm almost finished here. I'll show you the examples, then we'll get started sewing. And I was actually hoping, when I first planned to do this, I don't know, a couple weeks ago today, I had put in an order for some new swim from Raspberry Creek Fabrics, and it hasn't come yet. So it actually probably was only a week ago I ordered, but it hasn't come yet. So anyway, I'm gonna sew up just some old swim that I have, but they have some gorgeous new swim for 2021. So if you are looking for a place to buy swim fabric, definitely check out Raspberry Creek Fabrics, because this year's looks are just adorable. Okay, so making a one-piece suit into a two-piece, all you need is a basic swimsuit. And by basic, I mean like straps. That's it. It's just, you know, a basic look. And there's a lot you can do with it. So we're going to be creating a tank top. So essentially we just chopped off the middle portion of this pattern. So, you know, I traced the bottoms and I traced, oh, do I have a top piece here? I don't, and I traced the top, and there's a gap in between that used to be the basic suit, okay? So if you have a two-piece suit or your child nearby, you can measure, you know, from like shoulder to how low you want the top to come and how high you want the top to come to help you. So I just went ahead today and measured this swimsuit that I already had sewn last year, that actually my daughter's still wearing. It's just a little bit tight. And to use that to kind of see how high I wanted the waist to come. And then I just sort of estimated on the top. So she's got nothing on the top. She's only 7, so it's very flat. We're just looking at a basic tank. But obviously you can make adjustments based on the size that you're sewing. So here is the basic suit in its original form. And this, I see a couple of loose threads, but this suit has been well worn and loved for over a year and is still going strong. So this is using fold over elastic to finish the edges, okay, and it's fully lined. So you can see that here. So that is one option. This is the same pattern that I'm using today, and today, and it's good for 1 week, have given you a coupon code to get $1 off this pattern. It's only $5 to begin with, so you can go ahead and get it for $4 with the coupon code included in the link below. So check that out. There's the original. So, and then here is where I chopped off the bottom and made little bikini bottoms, okay? It's kind of glaring, but you can see those are really cute. I put the tag on the back so she can see what's the front. So we're gonna be making this same sort of thing today. But instead of a tank top, for this suit, I used my kids' raglan. I downsized so it's tight for swim. I added this cute cap sleeve ruffle on the bottom, and it makes an adorable little tankini. So if you search DIY tankini, or I think I called it a swim shirt because I made one for my son that had sleeves. So if you want to know how to make this version, search DIY swim shirt, on lifesewsavory.com, and you'll see this version there. So today I'm going to mix things up a little bit. I've cut out the top from the polka dot. The top from the polka dot. And we'll be making that. This is some nice thick swim, so I'm actually not gonna line the bottom. And then the bottom of the suit is this pink, so the same colors as I did on this suit. And this is a little bit thinner, so I'm gonna line the bottom, and I'll show you how to line it and give you some tips from that. So in addition to swim fabric, you also need 1/4 inch elastic, which I've already pre-cut to the right sizes, and lining fabric if you want to line it. And I'm going to add like a band on the top and the bottom instead of, where's this one? This one I just put like 1/2 inch elastic in and folded it over, but I thought I'd add like a band to the top and the bottom of contrasting fabric, and I'm going to put some clear elastic into the seam of that to sort of hold that in place. So those are the supplies needed, and now it's time to sew. So you will notice my cover stitch has returned, but I've been actually so busy with other things that I haven't even turned it on. I haven't even turned it on. So it's just sitting there waiting to be used, and I will use it, but not today. So you can sew the elastic on a swimsuit with your cover stitch, but my very favorite is just to use a zigzag stitch on a sewing machine, and it holds up so well. So, you know, those suits that I showed you have been used, like I said, for about a year. We have a hot tub. We swim a lot in the summer. Even though last summer was different, we still swam a ton. My kids were at my mom's for a month swam every day. She has a pool, and the thread and the elastic holds up. So I don't use special thread. I just use regular thread. I don't use special elastic. I just use regular elastic, and it holds up just fine. So unless you're trying to get a swimsuit that's going to last 10 years, maybe you would need to use plastic swim elastic and different thread. But for a kid suit where they're literally gonna wear it out or grow out of it in a couple years, I think it's fine just using the regular materials. So that's my 2 cents. Others may have a different opinion, but I don't. So, okay, so let's start by putting the right sides of the fabric together. I'm going to start with the bottom, and we're going to sew the sides and the bottom seam on the swim bottom. Now, I am going to line this, but this will help make it so there's no actual seams showing on the inside of the suit, and that means I'm going to sew the lining and the fabric separate so that I can put them together and enclose the seams fully. Okay, so again, sewing the bottom, sewing the sides until we have a little swim bottom right here. Okay, so that's the first part, and now we're going to do the same thing. There we go. You guys can see a little bit better. My serger has knit needles on it because I primarily sew with knits, so I would probably stick to that sort of needle. I do think it does make a difference when you're sewing swims, is to make sure you have the right kind of needle, because if you have the wrong needle, that can create skipped stitches, and skipped stitches can make your stitching come undone, and no one wants their stitching to come undone when they're wearing a swimsuit. So that's what I use. Also, this is very thick swim lining. I'm not sure if I like how thick it is. I've had swim lining before that's more like a mesh. This actually just feels almost like another layer of swim material, but the plus side is that it's very soft. And the reason I have this one in particular is because I got it off Amazon 2-day shipping. So that's why I have this particular one. But bathing suits aren't that scary. You don't have to be afraid of them. You can do it, and I can show you how. So now I'm going to put the lining and the fabric together with wrong sides touching. Okay, so you can see here I've got both those seams, and I'm enclosing those. And then I'm going to put some clips to kind of hold it all together. But this will create a look that doesn't have any of those raw seams on the inside. So I just realized it really hurts to, I recently, it's not very pretty, but I burned my knuckle cooking. My husband's like, you're a walking disaster. So, and now of course the blister fell off, and now it's like raw skin. Anyway, when I try to squeeze the clip with that finger, it hurts. So, more things I realize causing myself pain. But that's what happens when I do projects. The year we redid our kitchen, my hands were banged up for like a month because I never wear gloves, and apparently I'm kind of clumsy. So, yeah. That fold over elastic is just 1-inch fold over elastic. I think I got it off Etsy or Amazon. Okay, so now I have put these together, and we could turn it right side out if we wanted. Okay, you can turn it inside out, doesn't matter. The inside seam is enclosed, so that's the finished seam, that's a finished seam, and our raw seams are all on the inside, okay? So the first thing I think I'm gonna do is finish the top, and I'm going to do that by creating a waistband, a tight waistband. So I just cut myself a 2.5 inch wide, tall piece of the opposite fabric, and then, so I'm going to measure what a full length would be, and then I'm going to make it quite a bit shorter so that I have to pull kind of that, I don't know, 20% less or so, 15 to 20% less, and we're going to stretch and sew it around for a non-elastic, right? I'm gonna try not to put elastic in this waistband, a non-elastic waistband. I am going to put in clear elastic though. So in order to do that, we have to get that set up, and we're gonna put in clear elastic right in this hole of my presser foot, and I lift the presser foot and slide that elastic all the way to the back, and now as I sew, this elastic will be placed in my seam. So the next thing I need to do is I'm going to quarter the swimsuit. Probably should have done that when I put the clips on the first time. And then we're going to quarter our waistband. Okay, so I have a back seam. That makes it easy to do that one. And then can line those up. And so once we have both pieces quartered, then it's quite easy for us to match that with the swimsuit and sew it on. So with right sides together of the band and of the suit, which is the pink, I'm going to first match my quartered sections, and you can see here that this is smaller than the suit. Okay, so I have to stretch the band a little bit to fit, but we're just lining up the clips. So if you do the quartering ahead of time, it does make it really easy to line that up. Okay, so now we have the band on the top of the suit. Okay, so that's gonna look really cute. And again, we are adding clear elastic into the seam, and I've already prepared that by putting it through the serger. So I'm also going to pull on it a little bit while I'm sewing to make sure that it provides some tension and not just a stabilizer. So sometimes we use clear elastic simply as a stabilizer, and I just let it feed in naturally. But today I am going to pull it, oops, I don't want to pull it out. I'm going to pull it a little bit to make sure it actually sort of gathers in just a little bit and provides that stability for the swimsuit. So we are actually sewing 4 layers of fabric. So the lining, the suit, and 2 layers of the band. So we just have to make sure that as we're sewing, all of those layers stay lined up. And I don't want anything slipping out. So I'll probably be going slow. We also need to make sure that we're stretching the swimsuit to fit, because remember, the band, or stretching the band, the suit is bigger than the band. So I'm gonna stretch the swimsuit with one hand, and I'm going to give some tension on the clear elastic with the other, and hopefully my two-handed circus here will result in what I'm looking for with this swim bottom. can adjust the tension of the clear elastic simply by how tight or, how much you're pulling on it or how much you're not pulling on it. So you can be aware of that. And then we're coming back around, and I'm going to go a little bit farther, but now I'm going to cut the clear elastic so that it's fully enclosed in the seam and we don't have any sharp points, because sometimes my daughter says, oh, that elastic is pokey, and she can feel like the tail of the clear elastic. So we want to make sure that's not poking. All right, so there's the top of our swimsuit. It feels nice and tight here at the seam where I have that clear elastic in. So hopefully that will provide some stability, plus we have a nice tight band and for a really cute look. So there is our first part of the bottom. And I might put the seam allowance down and top stitch. I'm not sure. I'll have to see how that lays. Kind of feels like it might be nice to top stitch it down towards the swimsuit, but we'll see. Okay, so I did already pre-cut the legs. And in order to use them, I need to sew them into a circle. And then I'll give you 2 ways to attach the elastic onto the swimsuit. So let me first, I'm just going to zigzag the ends of this elastic together. And it's kind of tricky because it's such narrow elastic. So it doesn't always get perfect, but I really just try to get them tacked together. And you want to make sure that when you create the circle, you don't twist it. And this will be reinforced by other seams, so we don't have to think that little zigzag is going to, hold everything together. So, okay, so now we have our leg openings, and we're going to sew the elastic to the wrong sides of the leg openings. So I'm going to take that connection that I just sewed and put it on there, and then I'm going to take and I'm going to stretch it and kind of feel how it feels and try to even out the stretch between this bottom where I have pinned and the top of the leg opening where I have pinned. And once I feel like it's pretty equal on both sides, then I'll go ahead and pin it or clip it, and then we'll clip on that side and we'll clip on that side. So we have 4 clips. They're not entirely perfectly even, but it does sort of space out how we're going to stretch the elastic. I cut my elastic at 80% of the leg opening. So I measured the leg opening and then I did the math to create what is 80%. So if it's 15 inches, which I think my leg openings were, then 1.5 inches is 10%, so double that. 3 inches, so I cut 12 inches of elastic for the leg openings. And you think, oh, 12 inches, that's gonna be tight on the leg. But by the time we've double sewed this, once to the swimsuit and then turn it over and top stitch it, the elastic is actually already a little bit stretched out. So it's not gonna be just 12 inches, it will be bigger than that. So the other thing to do is measure actually around your child's leg and find out what is a nice snug fit, but not too snug, and then use that measurement to sew the leg holes. So up to you, but those are 2 ways you can do it. And I'm going to sew this one on using the serger. So we're going to catch just the edge of the fabric with the serger. And remember, this is lined, so I want to catch both layers of fabric, both the pink and the white. And I'm also catching the elastic in my seam, but I am not cutting the elastic. Okay, so I think when I do it this way and then I turn it over to top stitch, that it's a nice looking enclosed seam. However, you can totally do this step on your sewing machine with a zigzag stitch and then turn it over again. And I will do the second step on the sewing, or on the sewing machine. But I do like doing this first one to attach the elastic. with the serger. Preference though, whatever you're more comfortable with. Again, make sure you're not cutting the elastic. Okay, so there is the elastic sewn onto the wrong side, and what we will be doing is turning it under and top stitching for an enclosed elastic. Let's do the same thing on the other side now with our other piece of elastic. Oh, I did not do a good job joining it, as it just ripped open when I went to stretch it. So I guess I need to try and zigzag this one again together. I have no trouble, of course, joining thicker elastics, but I do find that this one is so thin, being only 1/4 inch wide. That is tricky. So do the best you can and figure out a way that works for you to join that elastic. Okay, so now I'm going to stretch it and hopefully it doesn't come undone again. And we aren't just quartering the leg hole because the back is less of a curve than the front, right? So the front of our swimsuit needs more elastic than the back of it because the back is a bit straighter, honestly. We're just kind of have that butt coverage and it's not really curved, but the front has a lot more curve going on. So that's why I kind of just try and stretch it evenly and feel it around and go from there. Okay. So again, we're going to sew this on with the serger, stretching the elastic and making sure that I'm catching the 2 layers of fabric. That we have on the swimsuit. So if your swimsuit is not lined, and I'll show you that when we get to the top, then you're only sewing 1 layer of elastic and 1 layer of fabric, and it is a little bit less to manage. However, if you have it lined up like this, I don't find it super tricky. It seems to go in pretty well. And like I said, I'm just using regular thread and regular 4-inch elastic. I just bought it off Amazon for swimsuit season and keeping it really basic. Okay, so there's our elastic in our legs. And now it's time, we will fold it over to enclose. And I'm going to top stitch with a zigzag stitch, and I do have a knit needle on my machine. A zigzag stitch, you can adjust it. I usually make the width a little bit narrower, maybe a 3, and we'll leave the length at 1.4. Let's try that and see if we like it. I like to start at the bottom of the leg, kind of try and hide those beginning stitches. And I do make sure that I back stitch properly at the beginning and the end. My machine is sewing very slow. Is there something in the foot? The beginning and the end so that it doesn't come undone. And while you're sewing this top stitch, you can see I've got 2 hands holding the fabric, one in the front and one in the back. And I'm actually providing just a little tug to stretch it out as I sew to make sure that the fabric lays nicely. We don't want any puckers. And I'm sewing on the right side of the fabric so that I can kind of keep my stitches even and an equal distance away from the edge. And I find that I make prettier stitches when I sew on the right side because I'm just able to watch what I'm doing. So let me finish this and then show you how it looks, and it really just comes together so nicely. And looks nothing, I think, nothing like a homemade suit. It just looks like a swimsuit. So can you see how nice that leg looks now? So here's the zigzag stitching on the outside, and then there's the folded over on the inside, and it really looks just great. And you can see how that extra fold makes everything lay so much nicer. So now we're gonna do the same thing with the other leg. Again, pulling just slightly as I'm sewing to make sure that we're smoothing out the fabric and not creating any puckers. I love this matte swim fabric. It's really lovely to work with, and it is so thick, and like I said, it holds up beautifully to swimming. My daughter never ever rinses her swimsuit, so you know the chlorine just sits in it, and yet they hold up so well. So it is totally worth it to me to make swimsuits. And the number one reason I sew for my daughter is because she is not a normal size. So she has no hips and no butt. So if I buy in the store, I literally have to buy like a 3T swimsuit, and then it looks ridiculous. So doing my own, I can customize the length and the width to fit her perfectly, which was my catalyst for making this pattern last year, is being able to get the fit right. Okay, there's the swim bottoms. So cute, right? Love, love, love them. All right, so let's, actually, if she wants, she might be able to still wear this with her polka dot. You can see how this fabric this is thinner fabric. This is from fabric.com. This is from Raspberry Creek. The Raspberry Creek fabric held up the polka dots way better than the solid. You can see how much it did fade. They were the same color last year. So, but 1 yard of fabric or a half a yard of fabric can make several swimsuits. It does not take very much fabric to sew swim. So I'm still using these polka dots and this pink from last year when I bought, I think, a yard of each, and I still have plenty. And I've already made some swimsuits out of it. So it's a great way to get bang for your buck. All right, so this long piece is for the neck, and these short pieces or shorter pieces are for the arms. So we'll set that to the side, and I'm gonna go ahead and sew the shoulders and the side seams. I am not lining the top. This polka dot fabric is pretty thick, and I don't think I need to line the top. That swim shirt that I showed you with the ruffled sleeves is not lined, and I feel like it doesn't show anything that I don't want it to. If you're making a top or making an adult swimsuit or for a teenager, I probably would line it just for a little bit more support and coverage, but for a little girl swimsuit and this fabric, I don't think there's any reason for us to line it. So that's what I'm doing. All right. I was cutting out several things this morning, trying to get some organization done and some projects ready to go. So I had a few things on my cutting table. All right, so here we go. And this one is a little, you can see higher in the front and a little bit lower scoop in the back. And you can adjust the front neckline however you want for whatever height is more comfortable for you. But you can see in the pictures, it's just kind of a modest, regular neckline as originally cut. Now I'm going to cut a band for the bottom of this, the same as I did before, and mark it as if it was fully across. And then we're going to subtract a little bit so that we can stretch this as we sew it. Going to sew the ends together to create a circle. we are going someplace warm for spring break in a couple of weeks, so this will be perfect. And I think it is time to start thinking about sewing swim, just so that I hate to get to summer and not have any swim made. So I did buy also some more board short fabric in the order that hasn't come yet. And so I'm excited to sew new suits for my boys as well. My oldest doesn't love my homemade suits. For some reason, they irritate his skin, and it just is, he is uncomfortable often. Whereas my youngest, or my middle son, lives in swimsuits that I have made him. So I haven't really figured out what causes the irritation. I don't know why this, I mean, especially if I'm using good quality fabric, there's no way that his Walmart or Target suit is made with better fabric. I don't know. All right, so I've quartered the band. I'm going to pin it around, matching the side seams. And the front. It's funny, I had not noticed how much that fabric had faded on her other one. And I'm going to put in clear elastic again. So I'm going to take my clear elastic, although I have a piece here. I wonder if this is big enough. I think so. Let's try this piece we have. I had not noticed how much that pink had faded, but it is from a different source. So we know that not all fabrics are created equal, no matter what kind you're sewing. All right, so on this one, I only have 3 layers of fabric that I am sewing together. Okay, I have 2 of the band and 1 of the swim top. And I'm finding it hard to know how to hold my hands here. And when I do get back around, I trim off the little elastic tail that was there from the start, because you will have a tail when you start. And then when you get back to where you started, then I take and I cut the elastic again and keep sewing that overlap, like I said, to fully enclose the tail again. Uh-oh. Just stretched it and the elastic slid out like it wasn't in the stitches. What? This should have needles through it. How can it slide? That is very strange. Huh. All right, well, I may have to adjust that. Oops. And look it. I missed. Erg. Well, we all make mistakes. I did not catch that second layer of the swimsuit when I was sewing right here. So now I'm going to have to go back and try and catch it. So I'm folding over the edge. And we're going to just take a deeper bite out of the fabric. I don't know. I might pick this band off, ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching. So we might go with this look for now, and then I might pick that band off and start over because one, the elastic sliding, and two, this huge gap right here. I just feel like I'm gonna be sad if I keep going. Actually, what I should do, what I'll probably just do is cut it off and start over because I have plenty of other fabrics. So who can be bothered to actually rip it out when I can afford a seam allowance of length off this top? So you saw in theory how to sew this band on. It's not my best sewing there because I didn't catch what I needed, and I don't even know what happened with the elastic. That did not happen on the bottom. I was able to pull those just fine and it didn't slide. So we're gonna cut this off, and later, after I say goodbye to you lovely people, I will cut another band and sew it on here. You can also finish the bottom of this top and the top of the bottom with, on the other version I made, I did a 1/2 inch elastic sewed on, and then I turned it over and top stitched just like we're doing the legs, okay? Starting over. Okay, so we're back to this, but you can see this is totally still a long enough. We didn't lose too much here on the length. Okay, so let's finish the neck. Goodness. All right, so I'm going to join my neck piece, and while I'm here, I'm also going to do the arm elastics. Don't need any of this right now. I was sewing it side to side, but I was having trouble. So now I think if I overlap it front to back, the hard part is just holding it in place while I lower the presser foot because it wants to slide. Goodness. Tedious little things. It's like curly and doesn't want to lay nicely in place to like stay while I put the presser foot down. All right, so those are the arms. We're gonna start with the elastic, and this is a symmetrical opening. The front and back, the left and right side are the same, so I'm going to mark I have where I sewed, and I have the other side of the circle, and then I'm going to mark the center of the back and the center of the front and line up my elastic starting with those two spots. So then I'll have at least two places where I know it's where I want it to be. And then we can stretch the other parts to match, hopefully. Okay, so then kind of just stretch it along the opening. And sometimes you can just sort of place it and stretch and see how it feels. You know, and make sure that on both those sides it's stretched nicely. All right, so we're going to do the same thing where we sew the elastic onto the swimsuit. This is only one layer of fabric and one layer of elastic, so I shouldn't mess this up. I just need to make sure that I'm stretching the elastic to fit the fabric. So once I get it going, don't stretch too much while you're still getting the stitches started. But once you get it going, you can go ahead and pull and stretch. And if it doesn't feed through very smoothly, that's where I sort of put that hand to the back and help it out. Make sure it keeps feeding through. And when you get back around, make sure you overlap your stitches a little bit to secure. And we have elastic in the neckline. Okay, so there's that. And now we're going to do the same thing with the arm openings. And I'm just going to do everything here on the serger, and then I'll go over and flip it over and top stitch all at once as well. So instead of finishing each section, I kind of like to finish each part on the machine as I go. I like the clips because they're so easy, but sometimes when I'm stretching the elastic, I find that the elastic slips out of the clip because it just doesn't really grip it. So you have to figure out if that works for you or is it too slippy. A couple times today I've noticed, oops, that slipped, and then the placement, the placement isn't where I wanted it to be. So and then an armhole, and the final armhole. Trimming off my tails. And I will, of course, share a picture when I can get Rose to put this on, and you can see how cute. But you can definitely, there's tons of pictures of her and my other testers modeling this suit. And the pattern comes with a video showing you exactly how to fit the suit, which I think makes it super easy, and also how to blend sizes. So like I mentioned, that was like one of the main reasons I wanted to create this pattern, was to have a suit that I could easily mash up the sizes for Rose. And so there's also a video included in the pattern that shows you exactly how to do that. Okay, so you can get all those details. All right, so now we can go ahead and turn under and top stitch just as we did on the legs. So I'm going to leave my zigzag settings the same. And then we're going to pull so that the fabric does not bunch. We want it to be nice and smooth. It will gather back up just because of the elastic, but we don't need to sew over any puckers and create extra fabric mess. In the original tutorial is also a link to finishing with fold over elastic, if that's something that interests you, and lots of other versions to sew this. So I find that it's very versatile, and when I was creating the pattern, I sewed it for my daughter, who was 6 at the time, our friend who was 9, and our other friend who was 14. Or maybe it's been 2 years? I don't think so. I think it's only been 1. What did I just do? So I was able to test it on lots of size girls to make sure that it worked for everybody. And if you follow my fit formula included with the pattern, I was able to get perfect fit on all those sizes, not even measuring the kit, just by measurements. So I love when I can sew something and not have to feel like I have to try it on every 5 seconds to make sure it fits, but that I can actually just take the kids' measurements and sew, because I will often sew for my nieces who live across the country, and so I want to be able to have a pattern that I can do that. And I feel like this one is that. So, yay. All right, so there's the neck. The front lays super nicely, and now we'll do the same thing with the arms. They're a little bit smaller than the neck, so they should go quickly. By the time you've folded over the fabric on both sides, this top strap of this swimsuit is actually pretty thin, which I like. I don't think I needed a really thick strap, but you'll see how thin it is, and if you wanted to widen that strap, you could totally go ahead and do that. Just again, stopping and making sure no puckers, everything's out of the way. Okay, so one armhole, the neck, but you can see it just lays super nice once it's been folded over and top stitched. I have top stitched swim with a cover stitch, my twin needle, and a zigzag, and I don't think any way is better than another, and the zigzag is definitely the simplest method, so that is what I'm showing you today. One everybody can do. Don't need anything fancy. Just zigzag the edge. To finish your swimsuit. All right, so like I said, I will be adding another band to the bottom, and then I'll show you the final look later. I'm not gonna do it now, but I did mess that up and I will need to redo it. So, okay. Here is our swimsuit. So we have the top, cute, and the bottom, super cute. And hopefully we'll be coordinating with a pink band on the bottom of this once I can cut it out. So the zigzag is not the 3-stitch one, Caroline. I'm just doing the one that simply goes back and forth, back and forth. You could do the one that goes 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, but that's not what I did. So I just kept it super basic and did that. And there you go, a cute little 2-piece made from a pattern. Make sure if you're interested in this pattern, you grab the discount code. It's good for $1 off for the next week. And you can go ahead and purchase the pattern through that link and use the code SWIM at checkout to get $1 off. So thank you so much for joining me. I will see you next week where we'll sew something else fabulous. And I hope you have a great rest of your week, and I will see you later. Bye.